This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
We are talking Perth Scorchers this morning. Jason Behrendorff, the champ, has come into the studio for a bit of a chat about the upcoming season. We're only about 3 or 4 weeks away, Dorf.
Yeah, it's really close, and it'll come around like literally snap your fingers. It's going to come there because the test match is next week as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So it'll fly by.
Cricket's definitely happening, right?
Yeah.
And the women play today.
Yes. The girls need to win today because the WBBL ladder is really tight at the moment. So just 24 hours ago, they were sitting in second. But with wins overnight to a couple of the other teams, they dropped down to about fifth, I think, at this point in time. But with Sophie Devine starting to hit some form, maybe, that they're a really good chance.
In full flight.
They certainly are, yeah. And they've got such a great team. Beth Mooney's been so good for a long period of time. They joked the other week and said, if Beth sneezes, she'll probably get player of the match as well. You've got Alana King, who we all know is an absolute superstar. And then for me, some of the fast bowlers that are coming through, great energy. They're doing some great things for the girls, and that's something that's keeping them in great stead. Their bowling team's out for 100, 120, and so even if they're not making as many runs as they'd like, they're still winning some of those games.
The expectation of the men's team is always, if you're not playing in the final, then it hasn't been a good year.
Failure,
That's how successful you've been, and WA cricket in particular. What's the team
It's been
shape?
amazing.
Here's the other thing, because I think, like AJ Ty's been around for a long time. You don't ever seem to be slowing down, but at some point in time, there needs to be some fresh faces come in. Is there any this year?
Yeah, there's definitely some fresh faces. Marley Beardman, to me, is the one that's really sort of up and coming through the ranks. He's a 19-year-old kid.
Wow.
Was player of the final in the Under-19s World Cup not too long ago.
Oh, wow, cool.
So he's in the Scorchers squad this year for the first time. He's played a little bit for WA over the last year as well. So he's exciting. He can bowl about 140 k's an hour.
Nice.
So that's a little transition piece happening, I think, at the moment. So that's exciting. And then we've got a couple other guys, mainly in the WA setup at the moment, like Bryce Jackson came in, played. I think it was his second game for WA in one-day cricket.
Yep.
Took 6 for.
Nice.
So, yeah, we're starting to get those sort of wheels turning, which means maybe for AJ and I that it's changing for us, but that's
the pressure's on for you. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The new talent means that you've got to push out the really old guys.
Hey, really old's a bit
I don't know, Dorf. The last couple of years, and you know this yourself.
You're so good.
You've never probably bowled better. Like, even from
and you're so
a point of being
consistent.
selected for Australia.
Yeah, the last few years have been really, really nice for me. And the thing that I put it down to, like I had surgery in 2019 on my back and it was really stop-start for about 4 or 5 years there. I couldn't train a lot.
Yeah.
So now I've actually had a longer bank of training, working on different deliveries. So I feel like I've got some extra things that I've added over the last few years to combat the way the batters are batting now. So slower balls, bounces, Yorkers, etc. that I'm just not bowling the same ball anymore that batters are going to try and line up.
So you've got more in your arsenal to kind of, mix things up a bit.
Exactly right, yeah. And that's something that, as Shaun very nicely said, probably bowling the best. And I feel like I've been going really well the last probably 18 months, 2 years in particular.
Yeah.
Despite having a broken leg, missing the IPL. That was a little bit of a sour
extraordinary.
point.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I was doing something very silly. I was batting in the nets, so I've decided I'm never going to do that again. But it's one of those things where, besides that, everything's been going really nicely, and I always get really excited at Big Bash time, so it's starting to get there again.
Well, I got fired up the stadium full of, the whole crowd wearing orange going nuts for you guys because, you really do perform on that stage. It is something to behold. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
From a spectator's point of view, you guys look like you're having fun too.
Well, and we have more fun the crowd's having as well. So ideally, we put on a bit of a show.
Yeah.
You guys all get excited, and then we have more fun as well.
Oh, it's been that way. The IPL was interesting this year with the way the injury got you. Other competitions around the world, have you been involved? Were you involved with the previous year and this year looking ahead? The season
You're like
I'm
a gun for hire. You've been all over the place.
What other comps can you play in?
A lot now.
Yeah.
There's so many comps, which is exciting, and it's lots of fun. So I was in the Sri Lankan Premier League, which we ended up winning.
Who did you play for there?
Played for the Jaffna Kings.
Lovely.
Yep. So, and then straight from there, I went to the GT20, which is the Canadian T20 comp.
Yep.
Where I played for the Toronto Nationals. And guess what?
You
we
won.
won.
Oh, wow.
So I was 2 from 2, which was pretty exciting. And then I went to a T10 tournament in Texas. So I played there for the Gladiators, the Texas Gladiators.
So T10, you're literally bowling 2 overs, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's where
How many weeks were involved in all those tournaments? So were you doing 6?
No, so the first one, Sri Lanka, was about 3.5 weeks.
Okay.
Canada was about the same, and then the T10 was about 2 weeks. So we're talking close to like 2.5 months.
The Texas one sounds like a school lightning carnival to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. 2 weeks and you only have to bowl 2 overs a game.
Yeah, it was nice. I probably did. Like, I had more hot dinners and things like that than I did bowl cricket ball. So it was, it was good fun in Texas. We had a really good group in terms of international contingent as well. So in those smaller tournaments, a lot of the time you stay in the same hotel.
Yeah.
So we had a great time.
So it's got a school camp kind of vibe.
It really does. It reminds me of back when I used to play like under 17s, under 19s, where you'd all travel together. You'd all be in the same, like whether it's school, boarding house, things like that. And you just have a great time with a bunch of your mates.
What a good time.
I know.
It just extends your career so much more.
That's right. And you're making money. Like you can, you can't do this forever, obviously, unless, Brad Hogg didn't seem to do it till he was about 75, but everybody else can't do it forever. What do the Texan crowds make of T10 cricket?
Well, there's a lot of expats over there in terms of India and Pakistan, so they love cricket, as we know. So, and at the University of Dallas that we played the games at, a lot of the students there are involved in tech and things like that as well.
Yeah, right.
So they were actually really excited about cricket.
Oh, how cool.
So there was a few games that we got decent crowds, which was a lot of fun, a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And then a few of the big boys that were playing. So Dinesh Karthik from India was there, Suresh Raina. A lot of the fans came down to support them. So the games they were playing in, suddenly the crowd just went up a little bit.
It's interesting because I was showing on the news last night, obviously the WACA nets and stuff have all been covered because the Indians are in town playing the test next week, and people are up in the trees just trying to get a vantage point to see the great man Virat Kohli, and you forget, because we know Virat Kohli is a superstar cricketer, but he's far and beyond that.
Yes, the esteem that he's held in India is extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. So those guys like Virat, Sachin Tendulkar, MS Dhoni, it's a different ball game. You actually can't describe to people what they mean to people.
I've seen Shaun walk down through the streets of Fremantle. Is it like? Do you think it would be like that?
It's probably on par, actually. No, you're right. Yeah,
it's so hard.
I haven't seen that yet. I'd love to see Shaun in his natural habitat.
Right. Very good. You got me there. Well, we're looking forward to the Scorchers season. Of course, we can see the girls in action today. They play this afternoon. They're up against the Renegades, which aren't bad. They're going okay.
They're against Sydney Thunder.
Yeah, what was I watching then? Oh,
You're looking at the first game for the Scorchers men is against the Renegades on December 10, but that's over East, yeah?
Yep. Oh, no, so I think our first game at home is the 15th.
That's the one against the Stars.
Yeah. So that's the one we're really looking forward to. Getting a big home crowd in 15th of December, so we're pumped for that.
Go off.
Everyone wants to take down the Melbourne Stars, so that'll be great.
Yeah, we do.
Hey, Dorf, looking forward to a big season with you, mate. Look, good
Thanks,
on you.
Guys.
Good luck.
I really appreciate it.
Great work.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
There was a sport on the box last night. So Australia did win the first T20 against Pakistan. They lost the ODI series, which was the last couple of weeks before then. Everyone's bagging them out. We did talk about that, the B team scenario now. But last night, rain interrupted at the Gabba, lightning, thunder, the whole lot. So they hardly played, and we end up winning.
It wasn't a 2020, it was a 2-2.
It was. And Glenn Maxwell was named man of the match. And I'm thinking, mate, you're walking away with the award. I know he hit 42, I think, in the end, but you're like, that's not a match.
How many overs did they get away?
I think it was like 7 or so aside.
That's,
Come on.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know they've got to do something, but still, come on.
And you taking a match payment for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you are.
Of course I would. The Socceroos were in action last night. It was almost a must win. Every game at home's a must win, right? So we're playing Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
They had a really good supporter base there, actually. It was played at Melbourne. And the Socceroos, in the first half in particular, they had a couple of chances, but their defending at times was woeful. And it was really interesting that the Saudi Arabian team was pressing high up the field, so they were concertining down. Is that the right word? No?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, we'll go with that. Right down. So when the goalkeeper had the ball, our Australian goalkeeper, he was doing, instead of, how the goalkeeper gets the ball and then they just boot it 3/4 of the way up the field, he was doing these little dinky passes and putting the defenders under pressure, and they kick it back to him and then he boot it eventually. Sometimes he just kicked it out of bounds. It was really strange to watch.
But surely, that's a strategic thing.
It was. And I just thought it was terrible.
What are they doing?
Because it just put you under pressure.
Yeah, of course.
And they were clearly thinking if they broke down the Saudi Arabian team in the back half really quickly with a 1-2 kick, then they'll get over the back of them.
Yeah, sure.
But it just put them...
It didn't work. Once that hasn't worked a couple of times, you go, maybe we need a new strategy.
Yeah, and I just think if you're playing a better team, if you're playing one of the better teams, they would have just stolen the ball and kicked them back of the net.
So ultimately, score?
0-0. And we had, I think, they said 14 shots on goal to about 3. Australia, that is.
It doesn't matter if none of them went in.
Nah, there was probably 6 legitimate ones.
Yeah.
And every one of those 6 shots, if it was Lionel Messi or Ronaldo or anyone that you could think of that plays in the EPL that's a striker, they would have buried every one of them.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Every single one of them. They were so easy, and it's just showed. I know. I don't play the sport. It is very difficult, clearly, but we just lack that class.
Yes, yeah. So we literally don't have a proper goal kicker, right? A proper striker.
No, we don't. Certainly not at a high level.
I would suggest that's problematic
Yeah.
as we try to qualify for a World Cup.
The days of, the Harry Kewells and Mark Vidukas, and we had Swartzer and Bosnich as our goalkeepers. We've got a good goalkeeper at the moment, but we just don't have that flair. And the guys who were playing on the wing, they had 0 speed. The Saudi Arabia guys were much faster. We had Tim Cahill was up forward. He always scored. We don't have any poachers like that. And if we did, we wouldn't be in this situation where automatic qualification for the 2026 World Cup is on the line. We would just be in.
We're scratching around at this point. Yeah.
And finally, I want to talk about the fixtures in the AFL yesterday. I didn't see Fremantle straight off the bat. I saw the West Coast Eagles fixtures first.
Yes.
And I thought, you're in a world of pain to start your season.
We are.
Now, I've always said that the West Coast Eagles have got it put on a platter in terms of their fixturing over the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's just been... Their fixturing has been brilliant. If you're going to win a series of games, you've had the right teams to play to get yourself into form. This year, they don't. So they start off with a game against the Gold Coast Suns, which is going to be difficult.
That's at home, but yes.
That's a difficult game because the Suns are on the rise.
Yeah, they are.
Nice.
Sunrise, like a sunrise.
Yep. Then the West Coast Eagles are away to Brisbane. Well, that's going to be
the reigning premiers.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Then you got to play Freo, so that's going to be really difficult. Then you are playing the Giants away, so I mean they're going to be in the top 2 in terms of betting for the premiership this year. Then you play Carlton at home. They want to be better. Everyone wants to be better. But then you play Essendon away, Hawthorn away. So you've got a really bad start. And then you play Melbourne at Optus Stadium. So there's a chance Melbourne are going to be crap.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to be rubbish this year.
But so what round's that, though?
So you wait until round 9 before you play Richmond.
Yeah. So Melbourne, we're a chance against Melbourne in round 7. Round 8.
Round 8.
Yeah.
Fremantle's is terrible as well. They play Geelong away to start the season.
Yeah,
I mean, how difficult is that going to be? Then they play Sydney at home, who are the
grand finalists.
Then they play the Eagles. Of course, they can get on a run there. Then they play Western Bulldogs, which is always a tough game between those two teams. They get to play Richmond away, which is a good one. That's in the gather round. And then it's then it's Melbourne, Adelaide, St Kilda and Collingwood, which are all kind of winnable games. It ends really poorly with Freo because they play Port Adelaide away, they play Collingwood away, they play Sydney away, and the last game of the season, last game of the season, they have a stinker as well. Let me just get to that page here, Nat.
Look at you go. You printed things out, Sean.
No, I got Bella to our assistant. She was amazing. And they play the Western Bulldogs at Marvel to round things off. Their end of the season is really hard.
Yeah.
So the WA teams have had no favours this year.
Do the Eagles at least get to play like North Melbourne a couple of times? What's happening?
You do play North Melbourne because you play Melbourne here twice. The one game being down in Bunbury, so you'll be able to get that one. But your season ends with hosting the Sydney Swans here at Optus Stadium.
That's brutal. Come on. All right. Well, it's still...
It's tough going for our West Australian teams.
What is it? It's November 2024 and already we've written off the season, the 2025 season.
We have. That's what we've done.
Happy days.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.